What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to be talking about my TRT protocol, which you already know because you read the title of this video and you clicked on it. So I don't know why I just told you that, but anyway, I'm going to be talking about it right now. I've been doing it for about 6 months. Excuse me. I'm a huge fan and I plan on staying on it for the foreseeable future. So in this video, I guess I'll just explain a little bit about what I've chosen to do, how I do it, and why I do it that way. So let's, I guess, start by talking about the type of testosterone that I take. Up until a couple days ago, I was taking testosterone enanthate, or cypionate, which are relatively like a medium-acting ester. So basically, what's an ester? When they make testosterone, like injectable bioidentical hormones, what they do is they add something called an ester to the testosterone molecule. And this will affect how quickly or how slowly it breaks down in your system and how long or how short the half-life is. So the most commonly taken ones are enanthate, testosterone enanthate, and testosterone cypionate. And that is what I had been using for the past 6 months when I've been taking testosterone. Now, unfortunately, I shattered my bottle of testosterone, and it was not fun because I do daily injections, which I'll talk about in a minute. But as opposed to weekly or bi-weekly. But anyway, I do daily injections, and I was about 6 days without a bottle of testosterone because I was traveling for work and I couldn't exactly, it's just not that easy to get, right? Without saying any more than that. But anyway, I finally solved my problem, and instead of taking what I normally take, I got my hands on a bottle of something called Sustanon. Now, Sustanon is this type of testosterone that, as far as I know, they developed specifically for TRT. It's a blend of 4 types of esters, right? Or 4 different esters that range from very short acting to very long acting. So the thing with enanthate is that it's medium acting, which requires, like, you have to basically, I don't really know exactly when the half-life is, but I think it's like something like 3 days or 4 days. So it's okay for weekly injections or bi-weekly injections. The thing with the Sustanon is that because there's 4 different types of esters, one of them, which is propionate, which is the shortest acting ester, is like, as far as I know, it's like in and out of your system in a day. So the problem with Sustanon, and the 3 other esters are like relatively high long releasing. I don't know what the exact term is, but they take longer to break down in your system, meaning that they will release more testosterone, or they will release testosterone over a longer period of time, which requires fewer injections overall. So the reason I said it was developed for TRT is because they wanted it to be more convenient for people, where they could go and they could actually get a shot every 2 weeks and they would be fine. Whereas if you tried to do that with enanthate, you would do your shot and your test would go up, and then it would go down slowly as it gets metabolized in your system. And then by the time you went in 2 weeks later for your other shot, like for your next shot, you would feel like shit because your test would have crashed. So anyway, Sustanon kind of aims to fix that problem. Now, I do daily injections. I don't do weekly, I don't do bi-weekly. I didn't start off doing daily injections. However, after being on TRT for, I don't remember, a couple months, I switched to daily injections, and I've noticed that it is a much smoother experience. I don't have the same, when you do a weekly injection, you have the problem that I mentioned before, which is that your test will spike, and with that spike can potentially come side effects, depending on what side effects you may be prone to, and that's not fun, and I don't like side effects. In fact, all of the supplements that I choose, I try to pick the ones that are the most side effect free, and if there are side effects, I like to manage those. Like, it's very important to me to manage side effects. So the ones that I was noticing from weekly injections were moodiness, and really just moodiness, which can come from aromatization, which is where your body turns testosterone into estrogen, which is what happens if you're a man. Now, you need some estrogen, but the problem is that when you are injecting, twice as much testosterone as like the healthiest man in the world would produce in a week, or 2 weeks in a single day, like in one injection, your body's going to be like, oh wow, look at all this extra testosterone. Let's turn a lot of that into estrogen because we don't, we have all this aromatase, which is the enzyme, and it'll just, turn a lot of it into estrogen. So you get a lot of high estradiol sides, which is E2, I think, right? They call it E2. Anyway, it wasn't good. So because of that, I started taking, I had this bottle of arimistane, which is a suicidal AI inhibitor, meaning that it binds to the aromatase enzyme and like gets, flushed out of your body, or makes it so that it, like, the aromatase is inactive, and I guess. They call it a suicidal inhibitor, which means just kind of like what I said, which is it doesn't work anymore. So your body has to produce new aromatase in order to convert any testosterone to estrogen. So when I first started, I had to take this every 3 days. If I didn't take this every 3 days, I would be fucking really angry with very little provocation. And I do a sales job, and it's not fun to be extremely irritable and have a short fuse when you are getting, when you're doing a sales job. It's a lot of emotionally draining work on its own, and it's not fun, like I said, to have to be fucking pissy all the time. So I would take this every 3 days. When I switched to daily injections, I did not have to do that anymore. I have not, occasionally I'll take this. Don't really feel like I need it anymore, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if it has something to do, I'm pretty sure it's from the daily injections. I think it's just easier for your body to kind of, metabolize all of the testosterone in your body without converting it to estrogen. However, like I mentioned, I have just recently switched to Sustanon from Test E or Test C. So I don't know, I'm just kind of speculating here. It's possible that I will need to start taking this again. I'm not sure. So anyway, I really like this. The good thing about arimistane is that you can buy it. It's not exactly over the counter, but you can get it online easily. The guys at supplementwarehouse.com sent this over to me, or bestpricenutrition.com. I'll put a link in the description. They hooked me up with a bunch of free supplements. This was one of them. It is relatively expensive. So shout out to them for fucking sending it to me for free. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, so Sustanon, the arimistane to manage the estrogen. I won't show you this because I don't know if I can, but I use insulin pins to inject. Very small, very thin needles. I buy them online. You can buy them in any kind of like medicine supply store. You want to get a very small needle, right? This is the benefit of injecting every day. You can use a very small needle. You don't have a lot of side effects. You can pin a lot of different sites with a small needle as opposed to with a bigger needle. The sites that I normally do, I'll do either glute, and occasionally I'll do like in the belly fat in my midsection, right? I don't like doing quads. I've done quads a couple times. It always hurts me for like several days afterwards when I do quads. And once I hit, I don't know, a vein or something, and like there's like blood squirting out of my leg. Not a lot, but it was like, I like pulled out the needle and there's just like actually a stream of blood that like shot out, and I was like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. Whereas with the glutes, I don't have any side effects from the glutes. Occasionally what will happen is that I'll feel, there will be like a knot, like a hard knot in my glutes after like a couple days. And then if that happens, what I'll do is I'll just rotate the site to like my belly fat, which I do sometimes. Never done delts. I just feel like this would hurt a lot if I did it. So have not actually done delts ever. Okay, now let's talk about the rest of the like vanilla supplements, I guess, that I take for the TRT protocol. I try to do the pin in the morning, by the way. When I wake up, take all my supplements, and then I go in and do the pin right away without forgetting, or so I don't forget. Occasionally I'll miss a day here and there, but I don't notice anything when I miss a day, so it's not really that big of a deal. Let's start with the most important one. All right, let's start with saw palmetto. Okay, now I fucking love this shit, and I take a lot of this. Okay, this is like, I don't want to say it's my new best friend, but it is really good for managing a lot of the sides that you can experience from taking additional like male sex hormones as a man, right? One of the issues with going on TRT or doing a steroid cycle is that all of the testosterone that you're putting in your body is, well, not all of it, but a considerable amount is either going to get converted to estrogen, or to DHT, which is another male sex hormone that is like, I want to say more potent, just what I've heard about it, but also has a lot of side effects. Now, the thing with DHT is that the side effects from high estrogen are like bloating, moodiness, being tired all the time. Basically, like, I thought this was kind of funny. You feel like kind of like a bitchy woman, really. No offense, ladies, but I kind of went through periods where I understood what it was like to be a moody woman. It's kind of like you have high E2, and that's kind of how you feel. The thing with DHT is that when you have DHT, the side effects are a little bit more sinister, I guess you could say. Hair loss is a big one. It's not the only cause of hair loss when you take, any sort of androgen, but it is a major one. And they say that male pattern baldness is like largely, DHT is like largely responsible for that. It's not the only cause, but it's like one of the main causes. There's like a direct correlation. So the good thing about saw palmetto is that it helps reduce the conversion from from testosterone to DHT. There was a study where they compared saw palmetto to a drug called finasteride, which is it's like the hair loss drug. There's finasteride and dutasteride, right? Finasteride is the less intense one. Dutasteride is like the nuke. But finasteride is kind of like what most people start out on, right? If they start losing their hair and they want to take something. It was originally for BPA, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia, which is basically when your prostate gets bigger, can cause problems later in life. But finasteride is kind of the one that everybody starts with. Now, they did a study where they compared saw palmetto to finasteride. And of course, I'm assuming the study was like funded by the pharmaceutical company, and they found that finasteride was more effective in reducing hair loss and regrowing hair. Now, the problem is that in the study, they only used 320 milligrams of saw palmetto. Okay, so they used a very, very, very like ridiculously small dose. And I think the percentages were like, I think it was like 62% of men reported like growing more hair with finasteride, and with saw palmetto it was like 38%. So I read this study because, this was interesting to me. This is something I need to know about, doing TRT. And I read that the dose that they used of the saw palmetto was only 320 milligrams. So it stands to reason that if you increase the dose, the effect would also be more pronounced. Now, I can tell you, as somebody who has taken a lot of saw palmetto and takes it several times per day, 320 milligrams is not a lot. In fact, this bottle right here, just one capsule is 450 milligrams. So to only take one of these little tiny ass capsules would be more than what they used in the study to compare it to finasteride. So the point is that it's plausible to think that if you increase the dose of saw palmetto, or you increase the frequency of dosing, that you would have a better result potentially than finasteride in terms of reducing hair loss and regrowing more hair. Now, I can tell you another effect of saw palmetto that, like an effect that you feel when it comes to lowering DHT, is that it removes the need, it reduces the frequency of urination. So one of the things that happens when you have a lot of testosterone in your body, which leads to a lot of DHT, is that it will make your prostate bigger. And when you have a bigger prostate, your prostate is right next to your bladder. So what happens is your prostate gets bigger and it pushes on the bladder and makes it so that, like, imagine you push on a balloon, right? It's going to make it so that the overall, it's going to make it so that, the balloon's going to be squished, and you're going to feel like you have to pee all the time, and you're going to have to go urinate a lot more. This is very annoying when you go to sleep and you have to wake up more than once. Like, I remember when I first started, I was like, fuck, man, why do I have to get up and go pee like 2 times a night? That was like insane to me. I would never do that. I would just like sleep through the whole night and I would never have a problem. So what I started doing is I started taking the saw palmetto at night. Now, that was great. I could sleep through the night, but then what I noticed is that during the daytime, if I was drinking coffee or I was drinking a lot of water, I would have to go and urinate frequently during the day, which is also not fun. So what I would do is I would start taking it in the daytime. Now, what I noticed is that if I took it in the day and I took it in the night, everything would be great, but then throughout the day, what would happen is I would have to, go pee more than normal, which, I like to work. I like to fucking do other things other than fucking going and taking a piss. So the point of the story is that I started taking it. Now I take it roughly about every 3 or 4 hours. I take quite a lot of it as well. I take 2 pills. I don't know. I take 2 pills when I wake up in the morning. I take 2 pills at night, sometimes 3 or 4 pills at night, depending on how I feel that day. And I will take, throughout the day, every 3 to 4 hours, I will take another 2 pills. So I'm taking several grams of saw palmetto per day for that reason, okay? It's for the reason of the frequent urination, which is a symptom of an enlarged prostate, which is not something that like a 37-year-old man would want to worry about, or that anybody would want to worry about. So in my opinion, this problem is kind of handled. I also take it for a little bit of hair growth as well. So when I started my YouTube channel, or not started, but when I started taking YouTube more seriously in December 2018, and I was doing all the snake diet videos and all that stuff, I was on Deca, D-bol, and Anavar for since July, right? I guess so July to December, what is that, 5 months? I've been on fucking 5 months of this shit, and I was like taking Winstrol occasionally, so it was my first time that I'd ever taken any sort of anabolics, and I ordered a lot because I wanted to experiment. I've been curious about it for a long time. I'd done a ton of research, and I finally was like, okay, fuck it, now is the time, I'm gonna give it a try. So anyway, the point of the story is that I stayed on from July, and then I stopped in early February. So what is that, 7 months. I was on some kind of anabolics for about 7 months with no testosterone base. And, I don't want to go over exactly everything and how much dosage I was taking. It wasn't a lot. I'm a very moderate person. I'm I don't want to say hyper responder, but I respond very well to pretty much anything that I take. So the point of the story is that my hair was fucking destroyed, like decimated. I remember the reason that I decided to stop everything, right? Because I had moved to Thailand by that time, and I took the D-bol and the Anavar with me. The Deca I finished, but I took the D-bol and the Anavar. I threw the Winstrol away like right away. I was like, this is gross. I'm not taking this. But I took the D-bol and the Anavar, and I would occasionally take them before an intense workout. Eventually I cut out the D-bol and I was only taking the Anavar. So it was not a good choice by me. I do not recommend that anybody ever do that. It's not a good idea. I'm just sharing my experience. But because Anavar is a DHT derivative, and things like saw palmetto and finasteride don't work to stop the conversion of testosterone to DHT because it's not actually testosterone, what seems to have happened is that the fucking Anavar fucking destroyed my hair, right? I'm sure it was all of it, right? Like my testosterone was crashed for fucking months, which probably had a lot to do with it. And then on top of that, it was a lot of fucking Anavar and D-bol, which are not very friendly to your hair. So anyway, my hair was totally fucked. And I took a picture of myself when I was in Thailand at the hostel. And I remember I went like this because I could see in the mirror. I was like, oh man, my hair, I shaved my head, right? But I would look at it and I was like, man, my hair is not looking good. Because if you watch some of my older videos, you'll see that I had fucking thick, luscious hair. Like I was the hair fucking god my whole life. Even though I had short hair most of the time. But anyway, I took a picture like this and I could see fucking the space in between my hairs when it was like this long. And I was like, no, that's it, I'm done. Why did I even tell that story? Anyway, the point of the story is that like over maybe the next, year or so, my hair started to come back. My hairline for the most part has kind of filled in. Still a little bit of thinning in the front, but I do see progress, and I believe that, having increased the saw palmetto, I believe that in the next, and plus the other stuff that I'm doing, which I'll show you in a second, in the next maybe 3 to 6 months, my hair will be even thicker, and I will have repaired the damage that I did from my mistake. Because I read a study once, and it said that they studied like the skulls of, or they did autopsies on bald men, and they found that like there was a direct correlation between how bald they were and the size of their prostate, which implies a higher DHT level. So anyway, just kind of piecing together like strategies from little bits of information that I have gathered from the internet. So bottom line, saw palmetto, very good, especially if you find yourself having to go to the bathroom a lot. and if you want to hold on to your hair and you don't want to take finasteride, I prefer, if possible, in any circumstance, to take the herbal alternative as opposed to the like synthesized drug. In most cases, that's not always the case, but in this case, that is the case. Okay, so that's saw palmetto. Next one we have here is tribulus, right? So tribulus terrestris is commonly marketed as a test booster, and from what I recall, it boosts, I want to say, the luteinizing hormone. And when you have higher luteinizing hormone, that signals to your body to produce more testosterone. Now, as far as I know, the effect is like negligible, but it's negligible, and it only works in, I think they did it on like, I want to say castrated rats or something like that, or they did it in men who were diagnosed as hypogonadal and they already had low testosterone. So what it really did is it was more of like a regulating factor and not like a test booster, really. It's like only if you're fucking sick and your body's not working properly is it actually gonna do anything for you. Now, in my case, because I am injecting synthetic testosterone, my body's natural production is going to be lower. So my theory is that it will increase my body's natural production in addition to the testosterone that I'm taking. Because by injecting the Sustanon, I am in effect making myself hypogonadal, right? I have testosterone in my body, but my body is not producing enough testosterone. So what I'm thinking / hoping is that the tribulus, along with a couple other things here, will help to increase my body's natural production of testosterone, which will help limit like testicular atrophy and any sort of like long-term issues that you can get when it comes to sex hormone production from injecting additional bioidentical hormones. So that is the tribulus. Plus I like tribulus. It helps makes me a little bit more aggressive, gives me a little bit more of an edge. I have a lot more energy from it. I only take 800 milligrams a day, which is not a lot. As far as it's one pill, basically, fucking fat ass capsules. So yeah. Another one right here. This is Tomcat Ali. This is from Nootropics Depot. This is a new product of theirs. I don't know what it's called. It's some kind of like extract of theirs where they like extracted the, it's called longjack or Eurycorma longfornia or something like that. I don't know, there's some complicated word for it. I always just call it longjack or Tomcat Ali, which is the like Eastern name for it, I guess. Anyway, it's another one of these herbal test boosters. It also boosts libido, and similar to tribulus is that it like works if you have low T, or it like worked on rats that had no balls or something like that. So I take it for the same reason. Also with this specific product, I wanted to try this because I had a credit at Nootropics Depot and I was like, all right, like I've taken longjack before many times. Also, fun fact, when I did my PCT for my super long, mistake of a 7-month steroid cycle, I used tribulus and longjack as my PCT because I didn't have access to the traditional drugs that you use for PCT. So I used those two, and I believe that it helped me. I didn't really experience any sort of like crash, I guess you could say, like people normally do. I was able to maintain my gains for quite a long time. I was able to stay in reasonable shape for quite a while, and I feel like it helped get me back to speed very quickly. All right, so that's the longjack. This bottle right here, this is really overpriced. I would not buy this again. You can get away with buying just the regular longjack if you are looking to try something, and that is what I would recommend that you do if you want to do that. Next one we have is boron. This I actually just started taking today. Boron is, or has been touted to increase testosterone production. I've never taken it, so I don't know. I do not know. I have no idea. I can't comment on this or really anything because I haven't actually had blood work done, but I am taking this as of today, and I guess I'll let you know if it does anything in the near future. Okay, so the next one right here, this is creatine. All right, now creatine doesn't necessarily boost your testosterone, although I want to say that it does. It either boosts testosterone or I think what it does is that it boosts testosterone or DHT, one of the two. I'm not sure. So I'm not really sure which one it boosts. As far as I know, DHT, your body doesn't produce DHT. DHT is only produced from testosterone in your body. It's through a conversion process called 5-alpha reductase, right? So they've done studies on people who take creatine, and they noticed that their DHT levels are, I want to say, like around 15% higher. And I believe that is because of the conversion of testosterone into DHT. But the cool thing about taking estrogen blockers and testosterone and DHT blockers is that if you are, like, let's say for example, you take testosterone, you inject testosterone, and then you take an estrogen blocker. What's going to happen is that your body is going to convert more of the testosterone into DHT because it's not converting it into estrogen, and vice versa, right? So what happens when you block both of them, when you block the 5-alpha reductase and you block the aromatase, is that your body will have more testosterone circulating around. So the overall effect will be greater despite the fact that the dose is staying the same. That's what I've heard somewhere, and it might be true, I'm not sure. Okay, so the last thing that I'm taking here, this is RU fucking 521, whatever the fuck it's called. This is basically a topical anti-androgen, and this I actually just started. I'm kind of on a mission to like completely fix my hairline and make my hair luscious again like it used to be. I'm not sure if that's possible, if I've permanently fucked myself, especially now that I have some trend coming in the next few weeks, which is very harsh on your hair. I kind of want to be proactive and get a head start because I don't want to fucking lose all my hair. So anyway, I'm using this. This is a topical anti-androgen that you basically has a 24-hour half-life. So what you do is or what I do, I guess, is I will use a dermaneedler that I bought on Amazon, or microneedler, whatever it's called, dermapen, dermastamp, which is one of these like little vibrating things that fucking stabs you like at a super fast speed with thick ass needles, or thin, like really small needles. And basically what it does is it does two things, right? It creates this like micro trauma so that your body will, create some sort of, or signal a healing response and send collagen to the area and like regenerate it. And also because your pores are more open after you do dermaneedling, what it will do is it will help the absorption of whatever cream or serum or moisturizer you apply to it afterwards. So I use this, I do the dermaneedling once a week at somewhere between 1.5 and 2 millimeters, which is fairly like, that's doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, believe me. And I will apply this actually every day, including the days where I do the dermaneedling. Stings a little bit, and it's not super expensive. The place that I bought it from was the place that More Plates, More Dates recommends on his blog, which I found. But I will probably, when I order it again, I will probably just get the raw stuff from my guy. Okay, and then the final thing that I do that I actually just started doing is I use a ketoconazole shampoo called Nizoral, which is another topical anti-androgen. And it does the same thing, although it's much weaker and it is less, it's not quite as, it's been around for a lot longer. So like something like this could potentially have like really bad side effects that we just don't know about because it's new and it's experimental and like we just don't know. So you're taking more of a risk when you use this, whereas the Nizoral shampoo, which is an antifungal shampoo, has been around for a long time, and we're pretty sure that like you're not gonna fucking have any fucked up shit happen to you by taking it. Okay, so that is pretty much my TRT protocol. I highly recommend this stuff. Anybody who comes into my, my coaching program that I'm doing right now, we will look at doing TRT for you as well, or I will help advise you if you want to do it. I'm not like the leading authority or source on it or anything like that, but I am pretty well versed with things like this. And I have 6 months of like actual hands-on experience, and I consume a lot of educational information about this kind of thing also. Cool, I hope that was interesting for you guys. Do you have any questions about my protocol or what I'm doing? Do you want to know anything else about TRT or how I specifically do it? If you do, let me know, leave me a comment. Peace.